All right, everybody, thank you so much. How you doing today? Happy LA Tech Week, right? My name is Todd Terrazas, and I'm the founder and executive director of the AI LA community. We've been doing this for 7 years. This is definitely our year, though, right? We've been hosting events the last 7 years to convene people like yourselves to learn about how AI is impacting our personal and professional lives. So we cover all the bases of, obviously AI music, AI entertainment, sustainability and climate change, healthcare, education, the future of work, and many, many other topics. We not only just host events like this, we do hackathons. We actually have a generative AI virtual worlds hackathon this weekend, part of LA Tech Week, where right now I think we have about 155 hackers going to show up and develop some story worlds in a game engine using generative AI tooling in the theme of heroes and villains. And so it should be pretty exciting to see what our teams come up with over the weekend. Besides hackathons and these events, we also do workforce development. And so we're starting an AI literacy program later this fall, focusing on educating community college students around AI and medicine. And the goal is that once they get educated and they go through this training program, then can go apply for a paid apprenticeship at a local hospital. And so we're doing a lot. We got a nimble team, and so thank you all for your contributions. Buying a ticket tonight helps our nonprofit, and if you ever want to donate or support us or volunteer, find me, or you can email me too as well. But it's been really amazing, Obviously, right now we're at the FYI campus. FYI is a mobile app. Hopefully, you all have it downloaded today because we're going to have this interactive experience. If you want to ask questions or engage with our panelists, you use the app. And I think it'll pop up here on the back here. But yeah, we've been really, really grateful to be able to work with FYI, will.i.am, the whole team, especially Julie Pilot, focusing on building people together. We started off an event around AI and creativity. We did an event on AI on the lot, which was around educating Hollywood on AI, which is obviously very, very timely given the writer's strike. And then today, another timely discussions around AI and music. You probably have been listening to those fake Drake songs out there, or Jay-Z, or the number of other different artists that have been, cloned without their permission. And so tonight's discussion is going to be really interesting. Let's talk about the ethics a little bit about that. Talk about how these AI tools can be used AI can be used as a tool to help with creativity and productivity. And I'm just really, really excited about the lineup of speakers and the depth of knowledge that we're going to be getting tonight. We're live streaming on YouTube. If you want to take photos or videos, that's totally appropriate. Please tag us, hashtag LA Tech Week. Make sure that those things get reposted so they put us in their newsletter. But without further ado, I would love to introduce our lovely moderator, Karen Allen.
Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. I've been to so many AI LA events, and every one is just better than the next. And it's LA Tech Week, so happy LA Tech Week, everybody. And thanks for patience in getting started. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the panelists. I think I'm on the end here. I'll introduce the panelists, and then we'll each do a little presentation, and then we'll get to the conversation. So first up, we have Parag Mital. He's CTO and Head of Research at HyperSurfaces and Chief AI Scientist at Never Before Heard Sounds. Sure. Matt Adell, come on down. He's co-founder and Chief Operating Officer at SOMMS.ai. We have Allado-McDowell, who's an author and co-founder of Artist and Machine Intelligence at Google Arts and Culture. And lastly, we have will.i.am, and if you don't know who will.i.am is, you can leave. Nice to meet you. You're at the end there, yeah. Great, everybody have a seat, please. Awesome, okay, so they're gonna sit here awkwardly while I'll give a presentation, and then we're all gonna sit here awkwardly while they each give a presentation. So do you wanna get the, oh, it's really tiny. Can you make that? Ooh, okay, here we go. Great, awesome. So I'm Karen Allen. I'm CEO and co-founder of Infinite Album. We do infinitely generative AI music for gamers. Next slide. So we see the opportunity for AI music in terms of revenue really in gaming. It's hard to read, but it's a $135 billion in-game virtual goods market worldwide. It's pretty big. And that's about to collide with the explosion of AI in general. We see it as exploding, particularly with AI music. So there's some questions like, why is music left out of games? And if you didn't know, games are pretty much freemium these days. It's kind of not, you don't really just buy a game anymore from GameStop and come home and bring it home. They're almost all free. And then there's subscription, if you want to do premium subscription, and then it's virtual goods. That's like 80% of the gaming industry right now. So 70% of global revenue is in-game spending, subscription and virtual goods. 50% of that is personalization. Personalization is vanity. That's like, I want the cool sneaker, I want the cool sword, I want the cool hairdo, like whatever. Music is really left out of that, and there's a few reasons why. One of the reasons why is that indie artists are just kind of unaware of how to do it. You have to do deals with each individual games. And the games, frankly, don't want to deal with the music licensing. And I'm doing AI music deals right now with artists, and I don't blame them. It's hairy. We have a thick skin for that, so we're doing it. And lastly, the labels just don't really know how to enter that market. What they've been doing with games is mostly sync licensing, and they've been doing big, huge things like Ariana Grande and Marshmello doing live events and selling merch and making tens of millions of dollars. But as far as like really integrating into the game itself, it's kind of hit and miss. Next slide. So we are Infinite Album. We create real-time, game-reactive, copyright-safe music. And what that means is we compose note-to-note, moment-to-moment. We have 4 AI models that work together to do that. It's copyright safe because it's all of our own music. It's our music models. It's our it's sounds, libraries of sounds that we have licensed to create the music with. And as we work with artists one by one, we'll be licensing with them. So it's copyright safe. And we are, if you can bring it up just a little bit, there's more in the bottom. Thanks. Basically, it's meant to replace the game soundtrack with music that you like. And we're going to sell this through in-game stores and virtual goods, and also through our app. Bring it up. So this is how you create music on Infinite Album. And by the way, back there, kind of next to the door on the way out, there's a little room, and we have demos. So if you want to see it in action and play it and make some music with us, you're welcome to do that. We keep it really simple. You select a style, you select a starting emotion, and you select a game reactive mapping, so how you want the music to react to the game as it plays. And then you hit start, and out comes what we call a vibe. And a vibe is an infinitely playable song, sort of. Bring it up a little bit. Each vibe is completely unique, and they're actually interoperable between games because we map the AI music against the game events manually. So we'll be doing text prompts really soon, text to singing, which is going to be fun, ambient sounds, and eventually possibly audio ads. So bring it up. Let's watch a little quick demo on how music is made on our app. A little video to play. Sweet. Okay, so you click Create Vibe down here, select Style. These are all the stock styles we have right now. Eventually we'll have artists be branded on those styles, and you hit play, and music should come out if the sound is on. I don't think the sound is on because music's supposed to be coming out. If anybody can help with that. Anyway, if you hit regenerate, it'll regenerate the music on the fly. It doesn't sound like that in real life, I promise. It actually sounds so much better than that. These are the mappings. You just select them on or off. And then for our live streamers on Twitch, it's monetizable with the audience. They can use our app on Twitch on that side to spend bits, which is Twitch's currency, to change the music in real time. Right now we're changing music, and down here you can see it change to chiptune, and then it'll go back to Funky House when it's done with that. So basically we have our phase 1 solution is for gamers who live stream. It's an instant product market fit. They definitely need copyright safe music. They're definitely getting tired of game music. And if we can help them make some money with their audience and create more engagement, it's like three wins right there for them. So it's really good. Phase 2 for us, next slide. Yeah, so that's phase 1. We'll also enable people when they create vibes to sell them to other gamers. So we're creating a whole secondary market for AI music. Phase 2 is going to be virtual goods. We're working with games to build directly into their stores and directly into the games themselves. So gamers everywhere, any platform, PC, mobile, console, whatever, can create their own music. Just like, again, like you would create your own dance move, you'll create your own music. And we're also doing some just B2B with game devs directly too. And I think that's probably my last slide. Oh, no, I got one more. This is how we create music. So on the right, if you down a little bit so we can see the words on the top. Basically, when we work with an artist, we take their music and we bring it down to elements, instruments, notes, chords, composition rules, production settings, performance settings. That all goes into our engine. And as people select the style that they want, the artist-branded style and the emotion, it uses that to create music on the fly. And again, if you want a new version, you hit regenerate, and there it is. So we'll sell those as sound packs, as add-ons to our users. A sound pack is a set of styles, pre-made vibes, sound effects, musical flourishes, all that sort of thing. So that's how we do it. And I think that is my last slide. So thank you. Yeah. So yeah, please make your way over to the demo after the panel. So Parag, would you like to come up and tell us what you're working on?
Hello, hello. I really hope the sound is working for my presentation.
Oh, that was me. That was me.
Cool, so I'm Parag Mital. I'm an artist researcher, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a gamut of things that I've worked on, and kind of end with the 2 projects that I'm currently working on. And I should have a video which is being downloaded right now. And it's pretty short. So a little bit about me. I've been working with AI, I think like since 2003 almost, and within music since 2000 or so, let's say. And so it's kind of like all my love interests came together when I could marry the 2. And I remember having an advisor. I was just like, yeah, I love computers, but I don't really want to work on military or like health applications necessarily. And I love music. And so she literally just typed in computer music online, and there was a conference on computer music, and that's kind of how I got started with all of that. It's like, obvious, cool, Google, of course, yeah. What else can I say? I guess, oh, here we go. Very nice. So this is an app that I worked on during my PhD on audiovisual scene synthesis. That was at Goldsmiths in London. This was 2010 or so. The idea behind this app was really rooted in my interest in perception. Like, could we model how it is that we represent the world through sound? And naturally, that just kind of evolved into a collage process. So this app is the first kind of like output of that process. A lot of my work was inspired by like theory of mind, how it is that we think about the world, how it is that we view the world, and later worked with different experimental psychology or cognitive neuroscience researchers, such as like working with eye tracking, EEG, or fMRI, and really like getting down into the nitty-gritty of like how it is that our brains think about the world. And then just started modeling it, really, like using computers. Like, oh, the theory says that we do all this stuff. It says that, you know, like we're moving our eyes 3 to 4 times a second. That's a lot of times, if you think about it, 3 to 4 times a second, yet the world feels very natural and rigid and continuous. And how does that work? Like, that's just like a magic trick that our brains are constantly doing. So I just kind of set out to try and model those things with computation and try and understand what's the theory missing? Like, is there something within that I can learn just by putting it into practice? And Yeah, I guess there's often a lot of things that you can learn when you marry both the kind of practice and the theoretical components together. And so that's kind of like my title, I guess, is like artist researcher, the science kind of asking the questions, and the artist part of me kind of redefining those questions through putting that into practice. Okay. I might just do the whole talk improv now, so we'll see. Let's see. Yeah, well, the next slide would have been...
Do you want me to jump to Kay while that's downloading?
I'm sorry?
Do you want me to jump to Kay while that's
I think Kay
downloading?
would be great, yeah, because he doesn't have slides, does he? Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Kay, do you want to jump while they're getting this downloaded? And we'll come back. We're running this very loose today, guys.
Yeah, I don't have
Kay's
slides.
just going to talk. There's no
I'm
presentation, so we
just
can
going
keep
to
this
talk
downloading.
too. And I also, it's a little bit improvisational, but I'm used to telling this story over and over and over, so I just thought I'd tell it here. So I am a researcher, I'm a writer and an artist. I work with AI, and I kind of fell down the AI rabbit hole in 2015 when this image leaked onto Reddit called Trippy Squirrel. Does anyone seen Trippy Squirrel? Shout out to Trippy Squirrel. Okay, so one person. All right, so go home and Google Trippy Squirrel. That was the beginning of this thing called Deep Dream, and I had been at Google for about a year when that came out. I came in as a software prototyper, and basically Deep Dream was the very first deep learning generative algorithm for making images. So like all the stuff that you see now with Midjourney and Stable Diffusion was kind of predicted by Deep Dream, and I remember seeing it and just being like, you guys got it. I guess I should have had a slide for Deep Dream, but I just assumed everyone knew because Trippy Squirrel is so cool. But when you see it, it's like this craziest looking psychedelic image that you've ever seen. And there was never anything like it before. And I remember seeing that and being like, holy crap, AI is going to really change everything when it comes to art and music. And that was in 2015. So here we are, 8 years later, and that has truly happened. But even then, it was impossible to really understand what that was going to look like. But so I was at Google in a research group. I was the only person with an MFA in the group, and my director said, "Hey, let's get artists involved. Let's like have them make stuff with this crazy new thing that we have, this generative AI." And so I said, "Okay, let me help. I understand the art world sort of. I can help you with that." And so we started planning an exhibition, and we had probably like $80,000 set aside just for sushi. And I was like, actually, you know what? Why don't we just like take that and give it to the artists instead? Because we could still eat sushi, And so we did that, and so that led to this program that I've been running at Google called Artists and Machine Intelligence. And we bring artists in to collaborate with AI researchers. We worked with all different kinds of artists, from dancers to choreographers to musicians to cartoonists to video artists, all kinds of different stuff. And we really try to get them up to speed with some of the technologies. And again, this was before Stable Diffusion and Midjourney and GPT-3, and these things were out in the world for people to use. So we were really, I spent a good 5 or 6 years just like traveling around the world telling people, you gotta support this new emerging field. And then I got really burned out, so I took some time off work, and right before I did that, it was in 2020, my friend said, "Hey, you should check out this, I'm like making an interface for this new thing called GPT-3, you should check it out." And I took 4 months off work because I was gonna finish this science fiction novel that I'd been writing for 5 years and couldn't finish. And in the 2 weeks before I was about to take my little break, I ended up writing a totally different book with GPT-3, and that was the first book written with GPT-3. It's called Pharmaco-AI, and that started me writing. I've written 3 books now. The second is an anti-romance novel called A More Cringe, published by Deluge Books here in LA. Check it out. It's really funny. It's a satire. And then another novel that just came out on Ignota Books called Air Age Blueprint. So I've been in the world of writing with AI. And most recently, I wrote the libretto for an opera, which was produced at Lincoln Center in October. And that also is a neuroscience study, and we were using some of the brain waves of our study subjects in the audience to control AI-generated visuals by the artist Rafik Anadol. another LA person here working with AI. So that's what I do.
Are we ready to go with Parag's video? It's a question for you guys. Are we ready to go with Parag's video? Yeah? All right, you're up.
All right, part 2. So this was an app that I had worked on in 2010 or so. The idea was that it can listen to the world and help you organize it. This here I've selected a track by Do Make Say Think, and it's listening to the album and constantly reorganizing its interpretation of that sound as it's listening to it. You can play it back like an instrument. In a similar vein, around the same time, worked with the archive of the Daphne Oram. If you're familiar, any hands, Daphne Oram? Okay, cool, great. Definitely check her out if you're not familiar. This was in 2010 to 2012, worked on that archive. And similar idea, it was an archival tool, but it's also an instrument. It was a fun way to play with the archive and understand what was inside of that. Fast forward 2018, worked with the LA Phil and 100 years of their cultural material. That was 7 terabytes of audio, which was organized very painstakingly over many months. And then worked with Rafik Anadol to turn that into a week-long public art exhibition that was projected on the Walt Disney Concert Hall. And that was a really, here you can see the audio browser being projected on the Walt Disney Concert Hall. Yeah, 2016, between 2013 to 2016, worked with XL Recordings to develop something called Bronze Format. That was a generative music project. We'd use Markov models and probabilistic models to help artists basically release re-version their work. This was an art project I ran in 2012 to 2016 that was a generative mashup. It was a virus on YouTube, basically. You tried to recreate the #1 most viewed video on YouTube using only material from the remaining top 10 videos. Unfortunately, all the videos were taken down due to copyright infringement claims and Cotton ID. And they made me watch this ridiculous video teaching me about copyright. And I couldn't use my Gmail. And then they quizzed me on it. So, of course, I resynthesized that video also. And, I don't know if has anyone seen Happy Tree Friends? They're really violent. Yeah, blood and dismembered limbs, and so you'll see a lot of that in there as well. And there's the blood. Yeah, it's just kind of ridiculous. But it's interesting, what happens when you put systems of automation in charge of things that are subjectively perceptual, what's going on there. I'm really curious to talk to you, Matthew, about a lot of this. This is a more recent work. This was set in India. This is along the same vein of my work with generative collage. And this was exploring themes of identity and representation. I'm basically in the car with my mom, dad, and brother, and we're all kind of navigating our own relationship to India. This was another project, 2015 or something like that, which was a sci-fi supermall vaporwave record label where you could submit a vocal track and have a generated song, basically. This is more recent work now. I've been working with Mojis the last 5 years, building gestural interfaces for musical expression. And my last project, this is what I've been working on most recently, SOMMS.studio. Please check it out. It's an AI-powered music browser, and you can collaborate with your friends. You can drop a track in, split it to stems, extract the vocals, and match it to another track in the studio, and you can share that link, and they can edit it and view it themselves.
Awesome. Great. Matt, you're up. Tell us what's going on with SOMMS.
Testing, hi. Well, I have nothing as sexy to talk about as what we just went through. And I'm not going to take up too much time because I'm so looking forward to hearing more from my colleagues here and hearing questions from you guys. Unlike the genius people I'm with here, I am neither an artist, nor a scientist, nor a software developer. I'm a business person. I have been a journey person in the music business since 1984. I had my first #1 record in the country as an executive and as an A&R person in 1986. I owned the first independent house music label in Chicago that distributed globally in '88. And then the internet happened. And I immediately fell in love because I had been a DJ, I had been a rave DJ. And if you're not watching your dance floor, you're not paying attention to what you're doing. And the internet gave me all this data about what people liked. I knew, programming an internet radio station, that everyone was tuning out 90 seconds into a new Madonna track. And it was like clearing the dance floor. I was like, well, I can't fucking play that again. And I fell in love with the knowledge and information you could gain about the consumption of music. And I brought that to Amazon. Later, I brought it to here in Los Angeles. I was the vice president of Napster, music and product. After that, I made my way back to my first love, which was dance music, and I was the CEO of Beatport for several years. Bro, we met in Miami. It was a great run. And then I founded a company called Metapop. And Metapop was focused on connecting rights holders with people making bootleg remixes and trying to find a business opportunity that made the economics of that behavior work for everyone in the ecosystem. Well, sadly, I couldn't solve that problem, but I built a 5 million musician community in the process. We partnered with Native Instruments, we sold that to Native Instruments, and then I spent the last several years in music creation software. So my time has been straddling consumption and creation. And at the beginning of last year, I realized this is it. This is the moment I've been waiting for. We are at the precipice of something genuinely new in listening and creation. And I'm very excited to be a part of it. SOMMS.ai is an enterprise solution for other businesses to deploy AI music for their customers or businesses. You will find nothing about us on our website, and you will not be able to find out who our customers are. We provide private data sets and custom models to people who want to ethically use the power of AI. So our customers are already musicians who want to partner with themselves or other content in a custom setting. Our partners are functional music businesses like sync houses that offer a bunch of content you can buy for $5 or what have you and put on your system. Clients like that want us to take their libraries of 1,000 tracks and turn them into 10,000 tracks overnight. We've built text to music, music to music, or audio to music. You could use a recording of this conversation as a prompt and get music out. And we've also built MIDI to music. But we customize all those things for people who know how to ethically use it. We've been very careful to not break the ecosystem that I've spent my entire life in. I can't break the music business. I wouldn't know how to survive without it. And so we're very much focused on being the good guys in the space, deploying this technology in partnership with rights holders and creators to create a more fun, exciting, and creative world for everybody.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Eric, before we get to Will, is there any way to run my video one more time? The first one. You got me on that? Everyone cross their fingers, please.
Like 2 hours.
That's not my video.
Dude.
That's Will. Can I run my video?
Say, what?
Can you run my video?
Oh, yeah.
We'll just try it one more time and then I'll get off this, I promise. The first one. Yeah. Are we gonna get music this time? Okay, we're hitting play.
Oh, shit.
We got music! Okay, so it plays. Keep it going. Thank you. You can regenerate it if you get bored of that. The emotions are on the top right. It changes pretty quickly when the emotions change. mappings of how the music reacts to the game in real time. You just turn those on and off, and then we'll go into the Twitch. So if you're a Twitch viewer, you can go to our app on Twitch and spend your bits, or no bits, to change the music in real time. We just change it to chiptune. So it goes to chiptune piano, and then it'll bounce right back. And that's what we have as our phase 1 solution. It worked. It worked. Cool. Thank you for humoring me. will.i.am, everybody. What you got going on?
Oh. You wanna play that video first? Yeah, play that.
Like 2 hours, lose some weight. Dude, my freaking robot outfit, look at that. It's Will back in the days. Oh. Tab, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off or anything if you're afraid of talking about. Check this out. You know I always come with that next.
What is that?
What is that?
This right here is the future. I input my voice, high notes, my low notes, then the whole English vocabulary. What you're able to do with that, because of this artificial intelligence, like when it's time to make a new song, I just type in the lyrics, and then this thing sings it, says it, raps it, talks it. This is it.
Wait, that means I don't gotta like rap anymore or something?
I mean, you're still rapping, but
Like,
no.
I mean me physically, like in a vocal booth.
No.
Okay, so you're saying a machine can do anything that an artist or a group can do?
Yes. This is what's going to take the P's into 3008. This is the future right here.
We're not just gonna not go to the studio and not sing anything. I mean, it takes the soul out
you
of
can
it.
still go to the studio. It can go to the studio and check out what the machine does.
Yeah, but it's not real.
It is real.
It's not like, we're not robots.
Well, nobody's saying robots. All I'm saying,
Seriously.
you guys are
I'll be
taking
back
this
later.
totally
I gotta
wrong. Well, you can't say futuristic and then be afraid of the future.
You're not robots.
Cool. So that was in 2010. And I used to go to MIT in 2004. Professor Patrick Winston was the AI professor. And every time I would go to Boston, I would sit in Professor Patrick Winston's class. And it was so fascinating just to learn about AI, you know, just being a fly on the wall, watching Professor Patrick Winston, rest in peace, teach about tomorrow. I was blown away by it, like, what the fuck, seriously? And I remember going to Guitar Center and looking at a Kurzweil. Like, wow, one day I want to afford this Kurzweil. But I'm an NPC cat. But just the Kurzweil, just wanted to learn more about that cat. And between Professor Patrick Winston and Ray Kurzweil, I loved the concept of AI. So the album, The End, with Boom Boom Pow and I Got a Feeling and I'm Gonna Be Rocking That Body, we called it The End back in 2008 because I saw this like, oh wow, everything's gonna change. Sam Goody's is done, Warehouse is gone, Tower Records is about to shut down. I started seeing physical stores go away. And I realized that our industry at one point in time was the pinnacle of technology. The other Steve Jobs, named Thomas Edison, created our gramophone. And that gramophone is our Grammy Award. And broadcast and Spotify was RCA, which is Radio Corporation of America. That's what gave us the signal. And the record industry forgot that we were a technology company. They thought that our music was just the songs. The songs are songs. But the industry was always backed by tech. And when we get up there and we thank everybody from our managers to our moms and God, we never thank the engineers. No one ever receiving any award thanks any engineer that made the mic or Ray Kurzweil. And from that point on, I was transfixed. There's a guy by the name of Jim Basile who was one of the co-founders of BlackBerry. And he was so kind and open-minded, right alongside a dude by the name of Paul Jacobs, who was the son of the founder of Qualcomm. And these two cats were like, you got crazy ideas. They believed in my wild, crazy ideas, which gave me this audacity and ambition to go to Jimmy and say, hey, we need to use our music to sell our own shit. And that own shit became Beats. And Beats, in every single Black Eyed Peas video on the end, we launched every headphone, every new model, but AI was always on my mind. I started working at Intel in 2012 in the futurist department, helping navigate, how they compete with AMD and ARM and Qualcomm and mobile computing. And that's an odd thing for an artist to be working in a company like Intel as an employee in the futurist department. And that showed me that, hey, this shit is upside down. Meaning the creator, the creatives are about to be empowered in ways that we could never imagine. The things that we were talking about in the futurist department, right? So I'm a musician, not because I play the keyboard well, or the guitar well, or the drums well. I make music because I fucking play the computer well. And if you think about like the drummer, bless his and her heart, they never saw it coming. In the 70s, the drummer was all over the radio. Ringo Starr, the motherfucker's name is Starr, because he played the drums. But at some point in time, the drummer was never on the radio. They never saw it coming. Where the drummer's skill set, timekeeping. Now, on streaming platforms on the radio, you never hear a human playing the drums. Across every single streaming platform, any song on TikTok, a human playing drums, keeping time, is invisible. And in the 70s, they were like, oh, this little rolling machine, haha, it's pretty cute, sounds like a percussion, whatever. And then the 80s came around like, oh, yeah, this 808, whatever, I'm still the drummer. 90s came around like, okay, that MP is pretty cool, it swings, but whatever, I'm still the drummer. 2000s, that motherfucker was nowhere to be found on any song. And that's sad, but it's the reality. Now put that same concept to every single instrument. Not just the instrument, the whole entire concept from song to now marketing, to artwork, to video. That's a scary thing, but for the ideator, it's a powerful thing. Because if you're the ideator, you always wear out your friends. You always were a nuisance to your friends. Yo, I got this idea, check this out. Yo, bro, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. You still thinking, yeah, bro, check this out. We could do this. That ideator got annoyed. You were the nuisance. Now with AI, the reason why I love it is that there's more Pharrells coming. There are more Timbalands coming. There are more Gwen Stefani's coming. There's like this new fucking wave of everythingers. The person that dreams up everything is coming. And, but the only thing that I'm afraid of is who owns the essence and the likeness of not just the creator, but you got everybody. Who owns your likeness, your essence? Not just for music, but the salesperson at fucking Starbucks or Nordstrom's. The person that sells in a unique way that every single quarter are responsible for the company selling. Now the company could like mimic them with AI, and that person should own their essence. So that's the only thing, as excited as I am about AI, I'm worried about who owns what. Because it's a human right that we own our shit. Like your DNA. If I'm a scientist, I can't just get your DNA and like make 1,000 of you. There's laws against that. But when it comes to like my facial math, I own my songs, but I don't own my fucking face. I own my songs, I don't own my voice. Poor Kanye. If there's an artist, the James Brown of sampling is Ye. If he knew that his rants would turn into the ultimate Ye AI, he probably wouldn't have ranted. But he's James Brown of this era of AI. Sampling. AI is like hip hop. It's like James Brown break, get it, rap over it. I don't even want to talk about like FYI the company. I just want to talk about my excitement for humanity and the things that we are capable of and the things that we erected. Like that shit you're doing, bro, fucking awesome sauce. That shit's amazing. Your shit, the reason why I screamed when you said Beatport, it was 2008. And I'm like, yo, Jimmy, I don't know if we could call the company Beats. He's like, what are you talking about? It's Beats, it's a great name. I'm like, you heard of Beatport though, right? Yeah, I heard of Beatport. They're Beatport. We're Beats. I'm like, yeah, but they're Beat first. We're Beats. Stop thinking too much. Anyways, I love me some fucking Beatport. And the shit you're doing is fucking amazing. Blaze over at Google. That guy's like a hero to me. I invested in Mustafa's Inflection. I've been investing in AI since 2010. OpenAI from the jump to Anthropic. Hugging Faces like Yo, Clem, and those dudes are the shit. So I know I should be promoting my stuff, but right now it's not important. I just want to celebrate humanity because there's a lot of folks that are afraid of AI, and they should be because there's no governance or regulations, but humanity's fucking awesome, so hell yeah.
So he makes some really good points. What he's talking about is what is called the right of publicity, your name and likeness. So when there's a fake Drake and you use the fake voice, is that legal? And it's very much a gray area. And of course, all of the rights holders are fighting for that right now for a right of publicity. In fact, there was what's called a listening session with the Copyright Board just last week that was invite only that we were fortunate enough to speak on. It was in 2 sessions in one day, and I want to say like probably 12 to 16 speakers, and it was a Copyright Board sort of giving everybody a forum to say what they think, and by everybody I mean the RIAA, the NMPA, the Songwriter Association, Spotify, sort of the whole gamut of who's who in music right now, basically who's got a dog in the fight and represents people who are affected by it. And there really is a gray area right now with US copyright. There is no copyright for AI music, and that's been shown in the courts a couple of times. And the standard really is a copyright has to be human created. And they feel like there's too much machine and not enough human, and that's a court level decision, although the Copyright Board has not made, excuse me, a decision on this yet. And it's really tricky. I mean, it seems really obvious that if someone uses your music to train new music, that's clearly a use of copyrighted music. I think we can all agree on that. But what we're seeing globally is quite frightening. So in Japan and in Israel, they've just made it legal to train against any copyrighted material, regardless of how you accessed it. And the resulting material you make with it, the song you make with it, is fair use. So it kind of obliterates the whole idea of having to license training data. And it completely, if you don't also then have right of publicity, then it gets into what Will is talking about, which is you can just pull someone's voice and just start making Drake music, and there it is. And then we get into what we went into in the Napster era, which is, okay, so if I just get my company set up in Japan, I'm good, right? I can do whatever I want and go rogue. And that's not the case either, because we live in a global economy. France actually recognizes a copyright in AI music. So if you plan to have any of your music performed, distributed in France, then you better have that covered. So this is, with every new era of technology with music, we have these sort of hiccups that come along. But it really does kind of pose the question, where is the line between human created work and the machine? Where does it become more machine? Is it okay if I just go to a site and press a button like on mine, you know, and say this, this, and this, and there's a song coming out? Should that be copyrighted? Is there enough human on that? Or does it need to be the way that Will might do it, or Matt's clients might do it, where I'm using AI for a portion of it, but the rest of it is really human created? I'm just curious, like, where does the panel, where do you land on that?
Wait, imagine it's 1940. Imagine it's 1923, and you're in Mississippi or Louisiana, and you've been playing on your stoop some guitar, singing your guts out. You've been hurt, your life is in shambles, and somebody pulls up in a car, and cars are new, by the way, in 1923. Not many people have them. But they come to your stoop and say, I want to record you. You didn't know what a recording machine was. You couldn't even fathom what recording was. You've been in Louisiana, Mississippi your whole life, playing in church. Your life is turned upside down, and you're singing your soul out. Somebody comes and records it. Recording in that point in time was super expensive. And then there was record contracts when you signed to a record company. And the amount of information that you could store on lacquer read by a needle was limited. So based on that limitation, they created, you know, in the contract, 9 songs, 4 minutes long, and that was what you were to deliver for your record company, for your contract. LLMs are the new recording. We don't have LLM license essence deals. We're still basing it off of limitation and recordings. When you're playing these sounds, they're not recordings at all, they're predictions. So how can you base tomorrow's business practices off of limitation and recordings when they're not even the same thing? I think what's going to happen real soon is that instead of going to the studio and making a song to release on Spotify or Apple Music, streaming platforms, artists are going to go into the studio to train their model. And it's their model that they're going to train. And because they're training it to their fingerprint, to their creative thumbprint, it's like, hey, what are you working on today? Well, yeah, I'm making ranchero music. I'm making freaking cumbias. Why? Because I want my model to be able to do all types of shit. This week I'm doing samba music. This week I'm making punk music. Not for Spotify. So I could get a fraction of a fucking penny? No. For my model. We're not having that conversation, so we can't even imagine how people were basing it off of how we made music yesterday. Fuck yesterday. The deals were fucked up anyhow. This new realm, you own your shit. You've invested money on your own LLM. You have a team of folks that are making sure that your LLM is not just for song creation, but song enjoyment, marketing, art, video, Until artists have that, we're talking as if artists were still stuck in yesterday. Artists are more than that. We have always been more than that. We could have sold not only record players and records, we could have sold Cadillacs, because Cadillacs had radios in them too. But we were stuck in record contracts. And that's great. And it's awesome. The record industry was amazing. But until the record industry are building LLMs, then we're not having the right conversation. The artist, the creative, whoever you are, whether you're making songs, whether you're making art, I think in the next 5 years, you're gonna have creative entities that are building and training their own LLM, and when you have that, then you own all that shit, because you programmed all that shit, you trained all that shit. And the data monarchies, that's cool. YouTube and Spotify are basing music off of the 300 some odd songs that I've released. For every I Got a Feeling, for every song that Ty Dolla $ign has made or Lupe Fiasco made, for every hit, we had to make 100 of them. So if you're training a model, you're just training it off of I Got a Feeling, or the 100 versions of I Got a Feeling that took me to get to I Got a Feeling? What's a more representation of my creative immortal thumbprint? The one song or the journey of songs that took it to get there? So even having that conversation of how you're training it, it's still bullshit, because you're training it off of one. You need the other, the journeys, to really understand who the artist is. That's why having your own shit is that gangster what motherfucker shit. Mic drop.
Matt, I'm curious, what do your clients, what are they doing with AI? Are they creating whole songs? Are they using it to generate portions of songs? And how do they, if it is created with a whole song, do they feel like that's a copyrightable thing? Like, where do they stand on that?
They're doing all of the above. The first thing they're doing, though, is training their own models, just like Will says. Because you're going to you don't want the same result. If you're using the same model everyone else is using, you're going to get these sort of generic results that aren't a reflection of you and your work. And they're also, ChatGPT is fun, but you've got people now building niche models for lawyers to use, because you do not want legal advice from ChatGPT. So these custom models for specific purposes are happening. We have people who are creating cover versions, remixes, new genre versions of functional music libraries, and the copyright issue is not that particularly confusing to me. The good news for me is it's not my issue, because unlike a lot of other people in the space, we're not here to take your downstream revenue. There's a lot of people in AI who want you to collaborate with the AI as if like that AI deserves half your songwriting royalty, and that's not where we're coming from. But most of what people are doing is they're curating the stuff. What we've all seen is these real-time generators of content, but the real use currently is non-real-time generation, where you generate a lot of stuff in bulk. You have effectively a curator, an A&R person, determine the stuff that's usable and beneficial to whatever their value proposition is. And then frequently you might have someone go and master it or mix it manually. Mm-hmm. You can do a lot of nice things manually that machines still can't do well. And arguably that layer of creation makes it a unique creation that you can copyright. But when it's sort of put a quarter in and get a whole song, which is sort of what I think people think of as AI, then there are arguments. Does everybody remember the monkey that took its own picture 15 years ago? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a famous selfie. It took some guy's camera, and the guy who owned the camera wanted to copyright that image, and he could not. He lost the case. He sued some magazine for publishing it, and the judge was like, well, no, the monkey took the picture. So there are still things to work out. Yeah. But I do want to say, we do have laws in place about name and likeness. I can't make a fake you and have you act in my movie today without you suing me, thankfully. And, you know, I'm disappointed that right now what has happened in the public is these deep fakes, these, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, musical disinformation of these fake tracks not made by the artists they sound like. We have laws for this, and let me just put it out there, fraud is not cool. It's fun, and as an artist, I played with it, do not get me wrong, I made some shit. But to then distribute it and claim it is the person you're trying to sound like, that is just fraud. And we're gonna get past that. At the advent of sampling, the KLF, who go look up, it's fun stuff, they sampled an ABBA record on one of their records in 1987, and all they did was play the entirety of Dancing Queen and talk on top of it, and said, well, we just sampled it. And you couldn't get away with that today, and in fact, that record was sued into oblivion.
Well, that's also Bittersweet Symphony.
But over time, sampling became an art form.
Yeah.
That was indistinguishable from the complexity of the art form of playing the guitar or playing the piano. And the same thing is going to happen here, as with any technology.
Yeah, for sure. Parag, can we take a step back? Can you explain to us how AI is creative? Because what I hear a lot from people, well, isn't it just an algorithm? How is an algorithm creative? Can you tell us like where the machine takes over on the creativity?
Big question. I think it really depends on whose hands and at what part the creator kind of enters that atmosphere, whether it's at the algorithmic development, like they're part of the creation of the algorithm, they're training the algorithm, they're involved in model architecture, like there's certainly creative steps that you can take there. For the vast gamut of people like that are on Discord or working with OpenAI's ChatGPT or MuseNet or whatever it is, the creativity comes in much later. And it's really, you're working with this sort of black box and trying to understand, almost like a curator, from all of these possible generative outputs, like what is the thing that I'm looking for that tells my story or has the feeling or whatever it is that I'm looking for. So I kind of see it as like a generator of ideas, like you're seeding it with maybe something that points it into a vector, and within its universe it has some sort of expressive capabilities. But you as the creator are really kind of directing that search into a space that feels like the story you want to tell, hopefully.
Sure. Just for the panel in general, do you think there needs to be some kind of an identification mark that music is made with AI, either whole and in part? I've seen a lot of AI visual artists start to put a stamp in the corner that has their little AI, that they've created their little AI logos, so we know that it was created in whole or in part. Do you think we have a responsibility to that, or does it not matter? Is basically AI going to end up being nothing more than Ableton or Pro Tools?
Someone will invent, by the end of this meeting, an AI that removes those watermarks. It's meaningless.
Yeah, I think ideally, yes. Practically, it will be duped. For every person that's being constrained, somebody will liberate them. But I think what we need to have in society as a whole is more understanding of how duping these technologies are, especially in lieu of 2024's presidential election. It's going to be upside down. Fake lives. Fake news was nuts. Fake lives on Zooms, on phone calls. That, we're going to see that and get hit by that pretty hard.
Yeah, we are.
You know, when you really think the person you're talking to on the phone, talking to you, is only talking to you, but it's really some awesome AI duping and mimicking folks that you trust. So we'll see that in 2024. And that's
Like a voice model on a chatbot, basically.
Huh?
Like a voice model on a chatbot to talk to people.
Not just
To do all
chatbots,
the
but like,
a true robocall.
yeah, but botnets, the concept of one chatbot that duplicates itself, understands the initiative, to then AI sheepdog everybody to a direction they never thought they would ever go to because they've gotten to their identity, right? Understanding who they are from a data set and persuading them cleverly, ever so manipulatively, to swing them whatever direction that botnet was able to do.
Analytica.
Kay, I know when you have written your AI books, you write them sort of hand in hand. You use AI as inspiration, and you actually have an interesting way of crediting when AI has written certain parts and when you've written certain parts. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so when I wrote my first book with GPT-3 in 2020, I was really interested in keeping track of who said what. And so I created a system where there were two fonts. There was a bold font, which was my writing, and then there was the response, which was in a regular weight font. And so I created rules. Basically, I think when you work with an AI system, they're so complex and there's so many infinite possibilities that you need to create rules for yourself or create a little bit of a game structure within it to kind of constrain that possibility. So that's what I did. I said, I'm going to type, and then when I'm sure that this is what I want to say, I'm going to leave it on the page, and then I'm going to let the AI generate. And I could try generating a bunch of different things, but then once I have something that I really like that it said, I'm going to leave them both on there. And so that way of writing created almost like a recording of a conversation. So you can see the thought moving between the human and the machine, moving back and forth. There's two different fonts, and so you can trace where it came from, but sometimes it's one sentence that's completed or a whole paragraph. So that was how I did that, and I don't know that, I don't really think that it's going to matter in the future. Like if it was made with AI, we're going to need to put stamps on things. Yeah, they could be removed, but also I think the process of working with it is going to change. It's already going into like Photoshop and things like that. It's going to become just another tool among many. And I think there will be effects of thinking with it, of writing with it, making music with it. We'll see things differently. We'll come up with different ideas, and there is an effect, just like every tool has an effect. But I don't know that we really are going to be able to just distinguish it. I think right now the hallmark of AI is that it's honestly pretty mediocre. The stuff that comes out of it's like not that great. And so we need artists to make it great. And in the end, if you use the AI to make something great, I don't think anyone's going to really care as long as it's great.
2 months ago, I got invited to the Minerva Dialogues in the Vatican. I couldn't sleep for 3 days after those discussions. Shit got really heavy, created a lot of anxiety, panics. And shortly after that, I met with the Google folks, and they showed me this music tool. And I heard the best song that I ever wrote, sung, and produced, that I never produced, sung, and wrote. Shit was fucking awesome. It was me and Michael Jackson and Nile Rodgers and Chic, and it sounded like Daft Punk. And that shit was so freaking fierce. Every sound was crisp. Every synth was like, yeah, that's the synth. The bass was like, yo, what? That's the right bass. Drums were punchy. The lyrics was like, yo, I would have wrote that. It spat out the lyrics. I'm like, it had an edit tool. I can edit it. And as it came around to the next cycle, it sung my edit. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is this? Then I removed Michael and put in Anita Baker. It sung just like Anita Baker. I said, remove Daft Punk and put Antonio Carlos Jobim, and in real time, it switched to a samba, bossa nova. I'm like, what the fuck is this? That shit was awesome. So, musicians are making music with AI. Yeah, for like 10 minutes. Because this shit, these tools are fucking Awesome. Immortal creative thumbprint. Prince will always be able to release Prince sound and music at Prince's highest. They no longer die and their music stops. That's right now. But how do they release a tool like that? They can't. The ethics, the ownership, labels, the states, the artists, it's all like, fuck all. But the new artists are free from that. New groups that are starting. So you're gonna start a group, a new type of Black Eyed Peas. If I was 18 right now, I'd be like, yo, you coder, okay, you AI dude, okay, I don't need the singer. You're always gonna complain when it's time to travel. You know what I'm saying? You can do that. New gorillas. The gorillas is the perfect freaking blueprint for tomorrow.
Yeah, they are.
New groups that are gonna come like next week. But as humans are chasing TikToks, the AI will make better TikToks. So what the fuck are we supposed to do? I think Bob Marley's are coming. There'll be more Where's the Loves and less Boom Boom Pows. And that makes you think of what the fuck is a song? What is a song? What's the purpose of a song now? It's just gonna be like, yo, start with the intro. Yeah, no. Start with the hook, and then get the hook in, and then from there we're gonna do the verse, and then the turn. That's still the construct of a song? Mind you, that's new shit. The A&R came into the studio and said, hey, if you want this to be played on the radio, it needs to be 3 minutes, at the most 4 minutes and 20 seconds. And after that song, here comes a 15-second commercial, 30-second commercial, or a 60-minute commercial. Everything is in multiples of threes and cycles anyhow. But let's say that shit is done. So from that perspective, what the fuck is a song? Is a song a discussion? Is it a conversation? Is it an entry point to go deeper into the theme? Is an LLM trained with the subject of the song? Can you have a conversation with the song? I think everything changes now. It's no longer music because the music industry was always 3 industries that made the music industry work. You have the recording industry, the publishing industry, which is the OG industry, and then the travel tour industry, which is live music. But nobody's listening to live music on repeat. It ain't like, yo, I love that fucking Wu-Tang live version. That's not it. It was the recorded version. But you went to the live version because you felt something. You were there in the moment. But maybe in the future, this near future, music is always there in the moment, and music wraps around your emotion. Like the musician did on stage. They looked out in the audience and seen like, yo, what's up, bro? Yeah, nice Adidas. Yeah, tight ass shoelaces. Right? And we connected with folks. But music on Spotify doesn't have the ability to connect. It's a solid state, it's a captured state. But AI music will always morph, will always give the artist the ability to, okay, now here's where we go deep. Here's the conversation piece. This redemption song Bob Marley wrote, here's what we are talking about. Public Enemy, Rage Against the Machine. There can be more groups like that because musicians cannot out TikTok algorithms when the algorithm can out TikTok them. And the moment that AI starts writing songs about fight the power and revolt, run. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to go just a little long on the panel, if I can, Todd. We're going to do a little Q&A. I'm pulling all the Q&A questions, by the way, from the FYI app. So if you have the app, go find the project, go into the discussion part, because I'm pulling questions from there. We'll just do a few, because I know we started a little bit late. Question for Kay. Which AI prompts do you rely on to explore the complex feelings of a main character?
That's a really interesting question. Yeah, I I wrote kind of from a diaristic or journalistic kind of perspective for a couple of the books I wrote, and some of them, but the second one, the romance novel, A More Cringe, I think is probably the most like fictional and the most has the most main character going on. And I kind of wrote that, I mean, the concept behind the book was so when you're writing, you're always making decisions, just like any creative process. You're always making decisions. What color am I going to use? How's it going to sound? What's going to happen to the character? So I decided for this book, my rule would be anytime I had to make a decision, I was going to make the most cringe decision I could make. So the character is always finding themselves in these really horrible situations, and they're trying to find love and God in Los Angeles, which is like, you know, obviously a cursed endeavor. And they happen to also be a DJ that lives in the basement of a TikTok house in Malibu. And so, but I kind of set that situation up as almost like a live action role play that I was simulating with the tool. So I would write a scene, and then I would introduce some characters, and I'd sort of say, you know, like here's a really good example that one scene, the protagonist is journaling. They're just like writing things about themselves, like, well, who am I? Like, I like people. I love to dance. I'm good on the dance floor, you know. And then their roommate comes in. This is where the AI took over. The roommate comes in and goes, let me see that. Oh, and they flip it over and they just write the most excoriating, horrible shit about their roommate and just like make them out to be this really horrible person. And I didn't write that, but because I had been giving the model so many cringe situations, it kind of went with that. And so I kind of treated it as almost like a simulator of a reality that, you know, which is what fiction is. And so when you're writing with it, you can kind of do that. And that was, so I wouldn't say that it was like any specific prompt, but it was more like the rules of the game and the way that I approached it, and how the model was able to sort of play in that simulated reality with me as an author and with the characters themselves.
Great. I actually have one question I want to squeeze in. I was so fascinated by Grimes and what she's doing with Elf Tech, and if you didn't know, she put out 20 gigs of samples and instruments and basically all of her music into a kit that anybody can use to go create AI music, and all she said was basically put it out and tag it so we can find it and we can collect revenue on it, and we'll share the revenue down with you with half. And she actually has found a couple of people to release proper songs with, and then when they go on Spotify, it says like in parentheses that it's Elf Tech. So I'm wondering from the artists on here, what do you feel, there's one side of creating music that you sort of control and decide what to put out and use AI to workshop ideas, but how do you feel about putting that in the hands of other people and fans and letting them go wild with it?
I salute her bravery and how forward-thinking she was. But if somebody could take my voice, my essence, and say some really foul things to folks and hurt people's feelings, emotions, disrupt communities, disrespect individuals, I think I wouldn't have done that, because people can do some pretty foul shit in the name of freedom expression, and music is still like our voice, our tool to express ourselves. I think, like I said, it's brand new landscape, so who knows? But I'm Geppetto. I'm not Pinocchio. And if you allow someone to pull your strings, that's the ultimate string pull.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think about that? Kay, do you want someone to make a book based on your book?
Wait, sorry, what was the question?
Do you want someone to make a book based on your book? Do you want someone to put your book into ChatGPT and spin it around and release it?
Well, I mean, frankly, I don't know that I have any control over that. I mean, I am currently fine-tuning some of my own models to write with based on other authors, and I've been thinking about like what does it mean to, like, for, you know, if I read a book and then I write from it, how is that different from a model reading a book and writing from it?
Right.
You know, is that different? I don't really know. I mean, 2 of my books have never been published in digital edition, so they would have to be scanned and copied in to be actually used as training data. But I feel like there's a certain amount of just like language is a little bit of a common resource, and books have often been treated that way, at least into academically or just like culturally. Like you can write, you could do an adaptation of Romeo and Juliet if you want. Like that's kind of how it works. So if someone would, yeah, please, that'd be amazing. I want to see what someone would do with it.
Kay
But
is
I mean,
also-
to be
he's
honest,
a-
I think it would be pretty hard actually to make something good out of it.
Yeah, Kay actually is a musician as well. We haven't gotten to that part yet, but he has some records out on Bandcamp. So I'm wondering, are you planning on using AI in your next record?
I went into the studio to make a record, and I'm like really just like, nobody listens to my music. You can if you want, but don't worry about it, and there's no pressure. I just do it because I love it. And so we went into the studio, and we were like working with all this electronics and stuff, and I was like, you know what, I'm like this is really frustrating. Can we just like sit down and like play these songs? And so then we said like, let's just take 2 or 3 days and we'll do reharmonizations, we'll practice, we'll do arrangements. And then we ended up recording like 2 acoustic guitars, a drum set live in a room all together just at once. And it was the best recording session I've ever had. I felt amazing after. I didn't look at my phone the entire time. So, one flip side of all this, as much potential as there is in AI to create music and be interesting, I think there's also the part about making music that people enjoy doing. Mm-hmm. Like, you can make all kinds of crazy images with Midjourney and stuff like that, but what's hard to do? Sit down and make a painting, and people like the challenge. So I think, there's the other side of it. It's like, this stuff is really cool. There's lots of crazy stuff that's gonna happen, but also like, I like to remind people, like, musicians don't make music just so they could have a song out. They make music because they love to make music.
It's true. It's very true. Yeah, I mean, at Infinite Album, we're not in the hit music business. We're in the make music fun for games and help gamers find music that they like, that they want to listen to. Or 40% of gamers already turn off the game music and listen to other music, which is generally a Spotify playlist. And our vision for bringing artists into that is to help them scale into a world of gaming that they could never create on their own. You can play our music for 1 minute or 10 hours, and we don't expect artists to be able to make 10 hours worth of music. So we'll make it for them, and we'll downstream the revenue. So that's sort of how we're seeing the whole thing. I do love this one question, and then if there's any more, put them in now, because we're about to end. Is there any music made by AI that you listen to more than once?
The song that I heard with Michael Jackson, Chic, Daft Punk, that shit was amazing. Oh no, you can't release it. I asked Dimas if I could have it and extract it, and I can't.
That is a great question, though, and I think it really gets to the heart of it. I mean, I want to hear the song that you're talking about, because so much stuff that I've heard is like, I mean, okay, look, I don't want to be a downer, but like, man, a lot of this stuff is trash. Like, I'm sorry, like, artists need to be there to make it interesting and meaningful to us, And I mean, same could be said for a lot of AI-generated imagery. People will get, I agree that people are gonna get really good at it, but they haven't yet, and it's gonna take a lot of work and artistry and learning how to be that kind of artist, and the fact that we can make infinite amounts of it is only gonna make it less interesting. So I think that's actually the real challenge, is how do you make it interesting and how do you bring your artistry to it? But I do think like that question is really telling, because I think people that are in this space would be hard pressed to actually find a track that they listen to more than once, And it's like, we've been talking a lot about people that were born in the 40s and 50s and 60s and are not alive anymore when we talk about great music that was made, So like, what's that all about? So yeah. I think it's a really important question, and it may mean we just have a totally different relationship with what music is, but I still think like writing a good song is as hard as ever.
We've generated cover versions for huge artists and their labels, and in that case where the song is preserved, I've listened to those things over and over again. But again, I'm listening to effectively a new recording of a familiar, wonderful, great song that was written by a human. The best I've been able to coax out of a lot of the systems, including our own currently, is I love grabbing loops and samples out of generated content. So in that respect, there are a ton of loops that I listen to all the time because we've been making full tracks out of generated chunks. And I think that's really the good use case right now for producers. Is it's a giant library of stuff you can sample that isn't going to get taken down, that can't be identified by Content ID. And people are going to sort of misuse this technology in a good way, the same way that the Roland 808 accidentally invented techno because people misused it in a way that created something new. That's what's going to happen in the coming months. We're going to have the first really big hit tracks where chunks of the tracks were generated very, very soon. But people still want a relationship with a human creator. Music is how we decorate time, and it is how we feel less alone. And when someone gives me a greeting card, they didn't create it and they didn't write it, but it does make me feel less alone. So if somebody participates in the creation of something that they feel expresses themselves, and I understand that expression, then it's meaningful art, regardless of how it was made.
Yeah, well, look, there's 10,000 people outside of a Taylor Swift concert that's sold out every night, not because the music is just great, but because they love her.
Right.
So there's always the artist element that you can't replace, and there's that connection. And to your point of, when they start writing protest songs, I really wonder if we'll ever get to the point where AI can create an underground track. Because I feel like you have to be out there in the club, on the street, in the kind of the group think of a generation to know like what is going to be the next thing. No one saw techno coming, no one saw grunge coming unless you were in Seattle. No one saw techno coming unless you were in Detroit house scene. So I don't know that AI is ever going to be able to tap into the culture enough to create the next big movement, but I can definitely understand it as being like a tool to help artists express themselves.
I think maybe a new underground will emerge. An underground that's not like any of the undergrounds we saw. Because all the undergrounds that we've witnessed are because of some technology. Whether it's techno, whether it's, deep house or punk rock, or whatever the underground was, it was technology at the core that allowed for that underground activity and social gathering and engagement to be the tool for that. And maybe, just maybe, believing in the imagination of 12-year-olds right now, when they're 24, they're going to have a different experience with AI. An 8-year-old right now, when they're 34, are going to come up with some industry that makes anything that we are so like, ooh, our shit's the shit. This is going to look prehistoric and dinosaur. There's going to be a deeper engagement, conceptually, contextually, conversationally, true understanding of what it is that the community is gathering, not just interpretation and opinions of what it is. It'd be a deeper context. GPS is pretty awesome. It gets us from point A to point B. Waze and Siri. But it doesn't get me or get us to point A to point B conceptually, aspirationally. So aspirational GPS is right around the corner, individually, collectively. And AI be the soundtrack to your journey in life, whether you're at a club or staring at a screen or hopped onto Apple's new freaking VR that's gonna shit on Oculus. The world is changing. We're in a whole new freaking world. Finance is gonna change, law is gonna change, governance is gonna change. Everything is gonna change in an amazing way, inshallah, in an amazing way, being optimistic. But yeah.
All right, final thoughts for the panel? Anything we didn't cover that you wanted to mention? Any thoughts you've had since we've been talking? You're all geniuses. Anything you wanted to throw in before we go? Where do you think we're going to be in a year's time, 2 years' time? What's it going to take to get there?
Oh, I got a wild one. One day, somebody that's 7 years old, when they're 40, they're gonna come home and tell their parents, I'm marrying this song. Because the song will be so deep and understand that person through their fucking journey that they're like, I'm gonna marry this fucking song. And the song will morph into some fucking character and be whatever that is for that person, a fucking song. Because a song is not just, like I said, verse, chorus, lyric, and a bridge. A song is anything you want it to fucking be. They're gonna marry that shit.
I've had songs I wanted to marry before, for sure. Anybody want to add anything?
Well, I wanted to give a shout out to like a really early technology, RJDJ. Has anyone heard of that? Yeah, Corey of course knows that. But that really reminded me of what you were painting a picture of, like this extrasensory mechanism attached to music that could really perceive and understand the world and adapt to what's happening around it. And they were working on that in like 2008, I want to say. Yeah. And the idea was it was activity-based recognition. They worked on the Inception app, so it was like Hans Zimmer's stems, but then if you're running or walking, you're like put into different sleep states or dream states. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that as people get more comfortable with programming and being able to manipulate these models and work with them in procedural ways. I've always been fascinated by procedural music, and I'm really excited to see what creators do with that stuff.
And parting ways, I just keep going back to the concept of redemption song. And if you listen to the lyrics to that song, the redemption song is a deep, empathetic perspective from Bob Marley on the world and communities that are in shambles. If that song was connected to LLMs to resolve problems, then that redemption song is not just a song, it's a solution to solve like human clashes or one love, one heart, let's get together and be all right. That is a solution to solve human problems, societal problems. And so it's a challenge to creative people out there. Don't just use AI to make songs. There's so many problems that you can solve with AI. You could start with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. You can start with just going to the South Bronx or Compton or any inner city and solving problems, whether you're writing a song to give people joy or escape. Coupled with AI, you're giving people resolution and pathways to live a better life. A song is more than a song in the age of AI.
Excellent. All right, I think I'm gonna call it there, so we don't go too late. We got the room till 10, so bar is open. Please network. The room's full of amazing people. I want to give a big shout out to Todd for doing an incredible job with the whole AI LA series. Please sign up for his newsletter. It's fantastic. And I want to give a big shout out to Will for hosting us in his house. Thank you for having us. This is not the first event he's done here. I look forward to more. And thank you so much to my panel. You've all been so insanely brilliant.